over to the other big debate that we are getting to you tonight. That's on regarding the Northeast. Now, what's very important to point out here is that the Northeast has been at the center of the Indian narrative now. The era of that sidelining, the tyranny of distance seems to be now completely over. It's that big mission Northeast debate. First, take a look at the developments, and then we bring in special guests joining us from Meghalaya and other northeastern states.
On Tuesday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended a meeting of the Assam Cabinet. He took stock of key projects in Assam. Today, Home Minister has started the process for a constitutional solution for the indigenous people of Tripura.
Today, we've had a meeting with the Honorable Home Minister of India, Mr. Amit Shah. And in the meeting, we have discussed the problems of the indigenous people of Tripura. Honorable Home Minister has kindly agreed to look into the problems of the indigenous people of Tripura.
The Prime Minister has personally attended the swearing-in ceremony of all the Chief Ministers of the Northeast this election season.
Sri Manik Saha, ভগবানের নামে দৃঢ় বিশ্বাসের সহিত শপথ করিতেছি যে
I, Sri Nipurio, solemnly affirm that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India as by law established.
The Northeast is not sidelined anymore, like it has been in the past.
All states elections, usually the Northeast parties, they go with the central government trend.
कांग्रेस कह रही है और अध्यक्ष उनके कह रहे हैं कि ये तो छोटे राज्य हैं, इनके नतीजे उतना मायने नहीं रखते। जब दिल में ही भारत को जोड़ने की भावना ना हो तो ऐसे बोल निकलते ही हैं। ये इन राज्यों के लोगों का अपमान है, जनमत का अपमान है।
The BJP blames the opposition for historical ignorance in the Northeast.
लेफ्ट एंड कांग्रेस में चुनाव का पहले भी बोला था, उनका कोई चांस नहीं था, खाली एक माहौल बनाया गया था। बस चुनाव हो गया, वो माहौल अपने आप एक्सपोज हो गया।
They claimed the Northeast is in the mainstream now.
अब नॉर्थ ईस्ट न दिल्ली से दूर है और न ही दिल से दूर है।
Let's debate.
Joining us on the debate tonight, Paul Lindo, Cabinet Minister of Meghalaya Government, joining us from Shillong. Also, we have Sanju Verma of the BJP and Lokesh Jindal from the Congress Party also joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, for someone who comes from the Northeast, I can say this with immense pride that this undoubtedly is that very era where we no longer say that there is a tyranny of distance. I say it, I come from the very place where Paul comes from. Paul Lindo, thank you very much for joining us. Straight away, let me begin by asking you. You and I, we've seen how Shillong has changed over the years. And let's be very clear, how many times, Paul, have you seen the Prime Minister actually coming to Shillong and actually shaking hands and being on the road without that fear that at some point in time we saw that during the peak of insurgency in Meghalaya, that has subsided. Would you agree or would you not?
Yeah, to a very large extent, yes. The fact that this is the first time ever that the Prime Minister of the country would personally attend the swearing in of our government means that the Northeast has arrived. The message is very loud and clear, and it certainly points to the fact that we are no longer just a fringe of the Indian consciousness. We part, or at least growing to be part of the mainstream today.
Bapal, I want
Yes.
to take one more question with you. What has really worked in the last few years, apart from the fact that when you have the Prime Minister of your country making 44 such visits to the northeastern states where you have 1,000 crore development projects kicking off, what is it that has really worked, and what do you think still needs to be done in order to ensure that we essentially see the kind of development that we've been longing for? And I can say this for someone who couldn't step out. Bapal, I couldn't step out when I was a news anchor in Shillong post 6 p.m. There was a time post 6 p.m. that I could not step out as a journalist. Today, when I go back home, I can freely walk on the roads without any fear. And I think so that's, for me, I think so that's a huge achievement. What do you think?
Well, a lot of things have worked in our favor. And I think most importantly is the fact that the Northeast today is not being seen as an attachment to the rest of this country. It is being seen as a very significant player, more so in the light of, geopolitics and what is happening all around us. To a very large extent, the realization has come late, but nevertheless, it has come that Northeast does matter. That when you look at the fact that today Dhaka, the intelligentsia of Dhaka, for instance, I met a cross section of them, and all of them are proud to have been educated at Shillong. It's a significant leap forward for Northeast India, and in the era of coalition politics where things go beyond Delhi, that realization has come not a minute too late.
Well, in fact, Sanju Verma, I want to bring you in. Someone from the Northeast, grown up there, studied there. My heart swells in pride when I see the G20 meetings are going to take place in my hometown. Nothing makes us feel more proud. And I would say for the longest time, I think the policy that the Congress government had in the northeastern state was look away from East. It was look away from East. Don't come closer, because we are very happy if we keep that tyranny of distance that helps us. Let that fester. Let that fester. We do not want any sort of development taking place in. And when I look at the data, 7 airports have been built within 8 years. Total airports in the region has gone from 9 in 2014 to 16 in 2022. And ladies and gentlemen, if there is one region in the entire country that has essentially benefited from that Udan scheme, it is the northeastern states. It is the northeastern states. Sanju Verma, tell us what has really worked. And for the longest time, we were always seen, especially people like us, when we used to come to the national capital. There is no vote. 25 seats. What will you play no role in national politics? So we were never taken seriously. Today, even though the seats have not increased, we are taken seriously. The Prime Minister goes, the Home Minister goes. At least there is some dialogue that is happening. Sanju Verma, over to you.
Thank you, Shravan. Actually, you've given such a comprehensive introduction. I have written a very detailed op-ed on this, which was trending on Google for 48 hours, on how the Modi magic has completely transformed the Northeast, and the tyranny of distance is something which now no longer exists. And I'll tell you why very quickly. Shillong got its first airport only in 2018. In the last 8.5 odd years, we've added 60 new airports and 387 new routes. And out of those 387 new routes, you rightly said, under the Udan scheme, 110 routes belong to the Northeast alone. I will tell you about the Bogeybill Bridge. It was started in 2002, but it got completed only in 2018. Look at the Dhola Sadia Bridge. It was started in 2011 by the Congress, but no work was done till they were ousted out of power in 2014. It was completed again thanks to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's focus on the Northeast in 2017. I'll tell you another interesting data. I was personally surprised when I was doing research, and I found out that Till 2016, Assam did not have a broad gauge railway line. Can you believe that? Assam got its first broad gauge in 2016. Agartala got its first broad gauge in 2019. And Tripura, Assam and Arunachal Pradesh, their capitals were connected on a broad gauge railway line only in the latter half of 2019, which means for over 6-7 decades, nobody simply bothered. And I'll tell you another thing. You know, the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, AFSPA, that has been a bone of contention with many stakeholders in the Northeast. And I found out that the Disturbed Area Notification called DAN, it was by and large removed from Tripura in 2015, and by and large it has been eradicated in Meghalaya in 2018. Nobody in the media talks about it, but removing the disturbed area notification from large areas of the Northeast shows that law and order has come back, and how. And I'll tell you what the biggest problem in Tripura was. It was human trafficking. And today we have two special fast-track courts in Agartala and in Kalyashar in Tripura only to deal with the problem of human trafficking, which tells you that the Modi government is doing micromanagement apart from the broader macro policy for the Northeast, which is working wonderfully well.
Today, in fact, just want to add one more aspect to it. In fact, Sanju Varma, that is talking about Tripura. Are we forgetting that today in the country, if there is a logistical hub that is emerging, that is the state of Tripura. And that is the reason why the Look East policy really works. Bapal, I want to bring you in once again, and then probably I'll bring in Lokesh Jindal. One of the bigger targets that you will have, Paulindo, is that in terms of job creation, and that's where perhaps the northeastern states are still lagging behind. Let's be very clear of where the northeastern states really need to perhaps work on. Yes, we can focus on tourism and the percentage, the numbers. As far as tourism in the state of Meghalaya is concerned, there is a considerable, significant high, I would say. But having said that, the challenge that your government today faces, that unless you are able to create the kind of jobs that is required, you will not be able to attract that kind of talent.
Absolutely. Optimizing youth potential should be and will be part of the priority agenda of the new government. And where soft skills are concerned, Meghalaya certainly has it all. And whether in terms of our ability to perform in terms of the arts, music, the communication skills, we certainly one of the best in the country. But optimizing it, focusing on it, and realizing that potential, that has to be on top of the agenda of the new government, and we will certainly push for it, knowing fully well that Northeast India and Meghalaya in particular has a wealth of youth talent which is untapped, underutilized, almost neglected.
In fact, Lokesh Jindal, I want to understand this. Why is it that Jairam Ramesh never felt the need to include the northeastern states as far as the Bharat Jodo or the Bharat Todo Yatra is concerned?
Shravan, I've been
I think you should actually congratulate. Bapal would be actually very happy that Rahul Gandhi only went to Shillong just once. And that's the seriousness that you attach. For the Bharatiya Janata Party, which has always struggled at least in the state of Meghalaya, at least they put up a fight. They put up a fight.
Shravan,
but as far as the Congress party is concerned, right from the time that the state was actually created, we have seen that the Congress party was holding a dominant position, at least in states like Meghalaya. Look at what has happened to you, 5 seats, Lokesh Jindal. That's what the people of Northeast are now telling you. Where have you gone? Or I could actually quote a Bob Dylan song right now for you, Lokesh. No, this is for Lokesh Jindal, Bapal, because I think so, Congress needs to do some answering. Or else I will be left with no other option but sing a Bob Dylan song for Lokesh Jindal. Now, Lokesh, can you hear me? It's blowing in the wind
only
right
recollect
now.
a particular moment. You know, when Meghalaya got its statehood, after
Okay. I think so.
people's
Bapal, why don't
movement
you
of
take this question? What has
decade,
happened? What has happened to the
Indira
Congress
came
party?
down to
Why is
Shillong
it that
and
the
said that she got us the state.
people of Northeast has rejected the Congress party?
I think
Bapal, why
it
has
boils down to
the
this
Congress party
mentality
been
of
completely
the high
rejected?
command. The high command politics doesn't work anymore. You can't say that, you know, everything can be visualized, everything can be planned from Delhi, and then you just come to Shillong and implement your agenda. It doesn't work anymore. No, I think that's
No, I think the Congress
that's
party earlier
how the
believed Sanju
Congress
Verma, Sanju
realized
Verma,
the
you
end
know,
of its
earlier for the
story.
Northeast, for the Congress, earlier it was only Delhi हाट में कुछ food festival करा देते ताकि लोग को पता चले कि North East में हो क्या रहा है. That was unfortunately that's how we know people from the Northeast were seen as. Delhi हाट में food festival, that's good enough, good representation that we were getting. Lokesh Jindal, one final word I want to give to
May
you.
I come in?
Congress party has been
Shravan?
completely decimated in the northeastern states,
May I quickly
and
make a
that is
point,
the writing
please?
on the wall. That's the writing on the wall that if you actually ignore us, we will ignore you.
We will fight back. We will ignore
Lokesh
you
Jindal.
in return.
Absolutely. Lokesh Jindal, why don't you respond?
May I quickly come in, Shravan?
I think, yeah, quick, make Sanju. I think so.
May I
Lokesh
please
today
come
does
in?
not want to say. Lokesh is now
Shravan,
purely
can I come in
representing
quickly?
the reality of the Congress party in the northeastern state. Make your point, and then one final word to Bapal also. Sanju, go ahead.
You know, Shravan, I just want to say that one thing which we need to understand when we talk about the Northeast is that don't forget we signed the NFLT agreement, which was signed between Tripura, Mizoram and the central government, the Modi government in August 2019. The Bodo Accord was first signed when Narasimha Rao of the Congress was the Prime Minister in 1993. And then for years together, the Bodo problem was allowed to fester. It was in January 2020 that Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Home Minister Amit Shah ensured that we gave a package of more than 600 crores and said that more than 34,000 Bodo tribals will be rehabilitated. Look at the Broo-Riang agreement, which was also signed between the central government, Tripura, Mizoram. The Broo-Riang community is a very small native community. And it was again in Jan 2020 that we said, we will rehabilitate the Broo-Riang community. The point I'm making is, in the Northeast, Shravan, you know, in Nagaland, more than 90% of the population is tribal. In Tripura, more than 34% of the population is tribal. If you do not give protection to this small tribal population in the northeastern part of India, you are not going to bridge the tyranny of distance. The Modi government realized that and worked specifically with that target, and the results are there for you to see today.
Well, in fact, Sanju, the icing on the cake would be if the government today is able to navigate the Naga political issue. I think so. That would be the biggest takeaway for this
I'm
government.
sure the
But
government
one
is
quick
working on
word
it.
from Lokesh, and then final word to Bapal. Lokesh,
Yes.
you know, as Bapal and I were saying, that you ignore us, we will ignore you, and that is the reason why today you are down to 5 seats in the state of Meghalaya. In some states, in Nagaland, you are sitting on a duck. That's the reality, the writing on the wall today.
Shravan, you're from Meghalaya.
That too, in
Can you please tell
Christian-dominated
me
states, you are failing.
Who established IIM Shillong? When was it established? It was in 2007. IIM Shillong was established. And during the time period of UPA,
the aims?
Wait,
unfortunately, Sanju,
let me answer.
You know,
Let me answer.
You want to talk about IIM, Bapal? I think so. For the longest time, please ask. He's a cabinet minister. Please ask. He's a cabinet minister for the longest time. If anyone in my household did actually fall sick, they had to rush first to Guwahati. They had to first go to Guwahati.
No, Shravan,
the pain that we had to go through, let's not forget. Don't undermine it.
No, why
don't
are you
undermine
so
it. Ask Paul Lindo. He will tell you for the longest time you did not want to open. You did not want to open hospitals. You did not want to open hospitals in Meghalaya.
No,
let's not get into it. Paul, make that final word. We're running out of time. Make that final. But there is lot to do. There is lots to. I'm not, having said that, I'm not saying that everything has been done and dusted. There's lots to do. Paul, one final word from you.
Well, the fact that Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh has to make it to Parliament from the quota of the Northeast, getting himself voted from Guwahati. I mean, you can't stretch the narrative beyond that.
I think he did not visit Assam even 5 times.
So can you please
Prime Minister
elaborate
Modi
more,
visited
sir?
Assam 55
I think
times.
that was something that was
Prime Minister
we to
Modi
be proud
visited the
of.
Northeast.
Ladies and gentlemen, actually running short of time.
No,
It's a great pleasure. It's a great pleasure. Okay, it's a great pleasure that when it comes to issues from the Northeast that can stir a debate, I think so we have achieved a lot. For the longest time, I don't remember the last time when a national television at some point in time never considered us. There was still one reporter in the northeastern states in Guwahati. But today, such a situation has come on prime time. On prime time, we are debating the future of Northeast. I think so we've come a very, very long way. Lots to be done, but thank you very much, Bapal. It was a pleasure having you on Republic TV. Sanju Verma from the BJP, Lokesh Jindal. I'm really hoping that winds of change in the Congress party, because perhaps you could take some songs from Bapal. He'll tell you some of the beautiful songs of the Northeast to tell you what's the situation, what's the future of your party. But thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on the third debate.